channel. In this video I'm going to show you a full face of makeup using Wet n Wild products. I'm thinking of making this into a series. Maybe it's going to be called Full Face Fridays. So every Friday I'll upload a video showing you a full face of makeup using, I'm going to start off with like specific brands, and then it's going to be like, or I think I'm going to start at specific brands. Anyways, today is going to be Wet n Wild. Maybe next week it will be CoverGirl or e.l.f. or something else. And then at some point I'm going to run out of full faces of one brand. So it's going to be a full face of makeup using random brands or first impressions or stuff like that. Anyways, if you're interested in today's video and in some of the Wet n Wild products that I do have, then keep on watching. I do have my face all moisturized, so I'm gonna go in straight with a primer. And for primer, I will be using the Wet n Wild Photo Focus Face Primer. I have used this before, but it's been a while, so I don't know how it's gonna work. I'm just gonna take a small little amount, or a big amount. And let's just go ahead and prime the face. Do have my mirror right over here, so hopefully it's not gonna be covering up my my camera. By the way, I am using my camera today again. I did go ahead and pick up a memory card because the issue I was having is the camera would just stop recording on me, and because I don't have a screen, so I can't really tell what is it doing, and then I would be like talking and talking and not knowing that it had stopped recording. So I bought a new memory card, and I'm trying the whole connecting the camera to my computer so I actually see what you're seeing. So if I look over, that's why. Bear with me until I figure it out, and then we wouldn't have to do this anymore. So this primer, I think I remember this was like the mattifying one, or they renamed it as mattifying. The other one that I do have is the dewy primer. I haven't used this yet, so I don't know how it is. I don't want to open it. I have a lot of primers open. I would rather work on this one, finish it, and get it out of my collection. But I think they renamed it as the mattifying one. I'm not 100% sure, but it feels kind of like I just put powder on my face. Just FYI, if you're curious. I'm gonna go ahead and start with the eyes. I like to do my eyes first. I kind of like start eyes and then switch to the face and then go back to the eyes. So let's go ahead and do that. I went and picked up this guy. I had used this before, and this is the Wet n Wild like Photo Focus Eye Primer. I had used one of these completely. I completely finished it. I remember it was very similar to the Urban Decay Primer Potion. I went ahead and picked it up again because that was the only thing that was missing to complete this video, and I did like it. The only primer that I'm using right now, see, I hate when you first squeeze it and you get all that oil. So let's squeeze quite a bit of it out first. Oh, that wasn't too bad. The only eye primer that I currently have is the MAC like Paint Pot in Soft Ochre, so it was okay to pick this guy up. And I'm gonna go ahead and prime my eyes. Yeah, I remember it being very similar to the Urban Decay Primer Potion, if I remember correctly. I might have put a little too much. Alright, now that my eyes are nice and prepped or primed, I'm gonna go ahead and go in with the Wet n Wild Rosé in the Air, the Color Icon eyeshadow palette Rosé in the Air. This guy is a 10, is it 10 shadow pan? Yes, 10 shadow pan. It is very, very similar to Anastasia Beverly Hills Modern Renaissance. I think they're pretty much dupes. There might be some colors in the Modern Renaissance that are not in here, but all the colors that are in here are in the Modern Renaissance. I'm gonna go warm tone today. I just love my warm tones. So let's go ahead and get started with that. Yes, my brushes are filthy, and that's because I am lazy and I don't want to clean my brushes, or yeah, I didn't clean my brushes. I'm gonna go in first with the transition shade, and I'm gonna pick that up with a fluffy brush, BEIGE Cosmetics. So I'm gonna go with the warm tone transition shade right over here. Here's what my brush look like. It's a little big and starting to get a little frayed, so it might be time to get a new one, but I've been saying that for a while. I'm gonna pick a little bit of that shade onto my brush, and I'm just gonna go in straight into my crease. I do remember now what the one thing about this primer was. It kind of dries down and leaves a powdery finish. You really don't need to set it, just give it some time to dry down, because otherwise it will be too tacky and then the color will skip on it, or it will cling to one area and then you won't be able to blend the color on the rest of the eye. But with me rambling for a little while, the eyeshadow kind of dried down, so it's easy to work with now. It's not like the color is not holding on to one spot, and I have no issues blending it. Okay, so now that first shade is in my crease, or that transition shade is in my crease, and I did take it a little bit above the crease. I am gonna go in with a little bit darker shade, so I'm gonna go in with this shade, the second shade right here that's in the palette. This one. I'm gonna pick that up with a little bit less fluffy brush, and I'm gonna try and keep this a little in my crease, my outer V. I'm not gonna bring it up as much as I brought the first shade up. So I'm gonna start over here and I'm gonna keep it a little bit lower. We're just deepening up that transition shade, deepening up? Yeah, that's the correct word, right? Deepening up the transition shade. I'm not gonna pull it up too high. I'm just gonna keep it in the crease and the outer V. If you notice, I am looking down to my mirror. Like, my mirror is not up. Well, first of all, because it will block my camera. Second of all, when you look up, you're gonna close that transition shade. So that crease area is gonna close. You're not gonna be able to apply the color exactly where you wanna apply it. So looking a little bit down, that opens up that whole space so you can really apply the color exactly in your crease. You can see what you are doing, and then there you have it. I'm going in kind of like windshield wiper motion. I do want this color, this look, or I think I want this look to be kind of dark, blown out. I'm not going for subtle today. I do like my grungy blown out eye look. So next up, I'm gonna deepen it up a little bit more. So I'm gonna go in with a smaller brush, and I'm gonna go with the shade that's a little bit darker, this shade right here. I am gonna use a smaller blending brush. This is the size of the brush that I'm gonna be using, and just for reference, let me show you the other two brushes that I used. So this was like my biggest fluffy brush that I put the transition shade with. This is the second brush that I used, a little bit more tapered, a little bit more pointy than the first brush. So that's the one that applied the color exactly in my crease. And now this brush that I'm gonna use, the smaller one, is gonna be only for the outer V, because that's where I really want the color to be really deep. So I'm gonna pick up a little bit of that shade, and I'm gonna go straight into my crease. I'm gonna bring it just a little bit inwards. Actually, I'm gonna put it on like the outer quarter of my eyelid, and mainly in the crease. Again, right where I place that color, that brush first, that's the most color payoff that I'm gonna get. So I want the most color payoff right in my outer V, and then I'm gonna drag whatever's left in the brush inwards into my lid and like my crease, but not bringing it too high up the crease, just keep it down a little. I'm gonna go ahead and grab a packing brush, and I'm gonna use, let's do this golden shade in the palette, this guy. I'm gonna use that with a packing brush. I'm gonna pick some of that shade up, and I'm gonna apply it on the inner part of my lid, the part that doesn't have any shadow on it yet. I think this is a color that works really well if it's wet. So that's how you can intensify that shade. But because I want everything to be kind of blended in together, I'm okay with it being not super intense. It still gives me the color that I want. So there you have it. This is what my eyes are looking like right now. One thing I would recommend when you're doing your eyes is, because you're always so into your mirror, take a look Bring the mirror further away, open your eyes, because that's usually how you're looking. You're not looking down all the time, so you have your eyes open. You want to see what your eye look is looking like, so open your eyes, take a look. See, I can tell that I brought in that really light shade a little bit too far back on this eye, more than I did on this eye. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to bring it back a little bit on this one eye. I think this is looking pretty well right now, so I'm gonna go ahead and go in with foundation, and then we're gonna go back to the eyes. The foundation that I do have from Wet n Wild is the Photo Focus foundation in soft beige. I think this might be a little too light for me, maybe on the pink side, but we're just gonna go with it. I did not want to go buy a new foundation. It does have that like spatula looking applicator, so I'm just gonna drag that on my face. By the way, my face primer feels, I think this is like, I'm really thinking that this is the mattifying primer now. My face feels like it has powder on it. Feels a little bit tight, kind of like how it does with a mattifying primer. It's not too bad. It's not like the Becca mattifying primer that really sucks the life out of your face. It's just a little bit mattifying. You can definitely feel it, like a little bit of tightness. I'm only gonna go in with one application of this foundation, because I do like a little bit like light to medium coverage foundation. I don't want it to be super full coverage. I believe that this is a very buildable foundation, or what I remember. I haven't used it in a while. I'm just bouncing my beauty blender all over my face, blending my foundation all the way out. Yeah, it is a little bit light for me right now, but that's okay. We're gonna deepen it up with some bronzer, and we're gonna put blush and all that. So it's all good. I'm gonna bring it down a little bit down my neck. Feels like this foundation like drying pretty fast. So I'm gonna skip setting it, or well, I'm gonna go in straight with my concealer. For concealer, I have the Wet n Wild, well, obviously Wet n Wild, it's all Wet n Wild. This is the Photo Focus concealer, and the shade that I do have is light medium beige. I really like this concealer. I have used it, I think this is the second one that I've like used or have been using. So I have finished a whole one of these before. I really like it. I think it's a little bit dark for that foundation now, but it's okay. We're just gonna apply that, and then again I'm gonna use my beauty blender. I'm gonna use the pointy side. I'm gonna squeeze it a little bit and try and blend that concealer under my eye, clean up a little bit that eyeshadow that I applied on the top. Okay, concealer's in place. I did apply it a little bit around the corners of my nose. That's because I have a lot of redness there. I'm gonna put a little bit in my forehead just to lighten it up a little bit, because that foundation, maybe it's just me, I don't know how's it looking on the camera, but I think it darkened up or dried a little bit too pink right now. So I could use a little bit concealer to brighten it up, kind of contour a little bit on my forehead. Okie dokie. Next up, I'm gonna go in and set the concealer, and for that I'm gonna use one of these two. I have the Wet n Wild Mega Glow contouring palette. One is in Caramel Toffee, and the other one, this one, is in Dulce de Leche. This is a little bit lighter, and because I kind of want to get a little bit of like contoured under eye area, I'm gonna go in with the Caramel Toffee, because this lighter highlighting shade in here, this guy is on the a little bit yellow, so I do like that to kind of like highlight my face. I am using an e.l.f. small setting brush, just a little bit on my brush under the eye and all the places where I applied the concealer. So the sides of my nose, and I'm gonna put a little bit on the center of my forehead. See, it does have that little bit of brightening effect. If you are maybe a little bit lighter skin tone than me, you might want to go in with the Dulce de Leche palette. But these not shadows, these powders are very pigmented. So you just a little tiny bit, dip of your brush, and then you get a pretty good color. So you don't need to like swirl your brush in. My face feels pretty dry. I am not gonna set my foundation because the only powder I have from Wet n Wild is this guy, the Photo Focus pressed powder, and I have the shade Warm Beige, which is darker than the foundation itself. So I'm not gonna go ahead and use it. I'm just gonna keep my foundation as it is. Let's go ahead and finish up the eyes, and then we'll bronze and do the rest. So for the eyes, I'm gonna do basically the same thing I did on the top lid. I'm gonna apply the transition shade, and then I'm gonna start to darken it up. So the same brush that I used for the transition shade, this might be a little too big for someone else, but for my eyes, because I like the color or the eyeshadow to be blown out, I don't mind going in with this. Again, I'm gonna get the transition shade. I'm gonna pick up a little bit of that on the brush. I'm gonna look up this time because I'm working on the bottom lash line. So I'm gonna look up, and I'm gonna connect the top transition shade with the bottom. So basically like this. I'm looking up so I can get the spot exactly under my lash line. I'm gonna do the same for the other eye. Looking up and connecting those two shades together. Okay, I'm gonna grab the second brush that I used, and I'm gonna pick up the same shade that I used on the top lash line, which is this one. I'm gonna pick up a little bit on the tip of that brush, and I'm gonna apply it right where I applied the transition shade. I'm darkening it up. The transition shade is still peeking through below it, so that's good. Now I'm gonna grab my smallest brush, and I'm gonna pick up a little bit of that dark shade that we use on the outer V on the top lash line. I'm gonna pick up a little bit of that, and I'm gonna apply it on my lower lash line and connect it to my outer V. I'm gonna do the same for the other eye. Start as far out as you want, and then bring it in and connect it to the top outer V. I'm not bringing this color too far in because I only want the outside to be defined, to be darker. I want to keep the inside open. That way, like, the lighter color on the inside makes your eyes look a little bit more open. It makes your eyes look a little bit bigger. So I'm not bringing it in too much in. I'm keeping it a little bit out. The last thing that I'm going to do for the lower lash line is use the same champagne shade that I used on the top lid. I'm going to apply that in the inner corner of the lower lash line, this shade right here. So I'm going to use the same packing brush. I'm going to use the tip of the brush. I'm dabbing into that shade, and I'm going to apply it into the inner part of the lower lash line. Okay, I'm pretty happy with the way that looks. I'm gonna go move on to the brows, and then we'll highlight under the brow. For brow product, I have used one of these before, and I really don't remember if I liked it or not. Okay, this is the Wet n Wild Fills and Define Brows, and the color is nothing but brunette. I already opened it, but there you have it. I think Wet n Wild has like a brow pencil, like a fine tip brow pencil. But because I do have a lot of brows already, I'm not gonna go ahead and fill them in. I think just using the brow gel is gonna be enough for me. Ooh, this is what the spoolie looks like. Okay, we're just gonna go in with it. Definitely not my favorite brow product. I think it's more like a brow mascara. It's not gonna be like a volumizing fiber brow mascara. It's more like a tinted gel, which is fine. If you have a lot of lashes, you might wanna fill them in. One trick that I've been really loving, I have been enjoying doing, is I have been applying my brow gel, a product like this first, and then letting it dry, and then going back and seeing if there are any spots that I need to fill in. Then I go in with a brow pencil. I do that on the days that I need my brows to look natural. I don't need them to be very sculpted. I don't need them to be like bam in your face brows. Something natural, going in with the mascara first and then filling in your sparse spots would be sparse spots. That works too. So now that my brows are in, I'm gonna go ahead and bronze my face. For bronzer, I'm gonna use one of their newer bronzers, and this is the Color Icon bronzer. The shade is Queen's Landing. I have two of these. I have the Queen's Landing. This guy is a little bit warm tone. And then let me show you the other one. And this is the Your Drag on Me Down. This is a little bit more cool tone. I'm gonna go in with the little bit warmer tone, but you know, depends on your skin tone. You might want to choose it to go in with a different bronzer. I'm gonna go in with this guy. I honestly haven't used it since I did a review video of this collection, or an unboxing of this collection. Okay, so definitely somewhat for someone who is warm tone. If you are on the cooler side, this might look a little bit orangey on you. Just keep that in mind. That foundation really dried. I don't know if it's the primer or if it's the foundation itself. I'm gonna pick up a little bit more of that bronzer to continue bronzing my forehead a little. Feels too white right now. The foundation looked a little bit too light, so I wanted to make sure that I don't look like a ghost. Other options that I have for bronzer from Wet n Wild are definitely the ones that come in these palettes, like both the one in the Dolce de Leche and in this one, which is the Caramel Toffee. These are great. You just gotta go very light tinted because they are very, very pigmented. So that's another option. One more option that I do have for them, and if you are a little bit lighter tone, you might want to consider that, is the Wet n Wild, the Color Icon bronzer in Ticket to Brazil. It's this guy. This guy is really light for me, but it would be really nice for someone who's a little bit lighter tone than me. See, it looks too white for me. I use this more in the winter time, so it's another option. For blush, I do have a couple blushes from Wet n Wild, but I'm gonna go ahead and use my favorite, which is also the Color Icon Apricot in the Middle. Let me show you what this guy looks like. Oh, somehow, for some reason, I had kept the little brush that comes in it. This is what it looks like. For that, I'm gonna use, let's go ahead and use this brush. This is by Ulta Beauty, and this is the blush brush. I'm gonna pick up a little bit of that color, tap off the excess. I really like this blush because it has like that peachy golden tone to it. So it's natural, it's not overpowering. It goes really well with this eye look. It's not clashing with it. For a highlighter, here's where it was really hard for me to choose a highlighter. I have so many Wet n Wild highlighters, but for today's video, I think I'm gonna go in, let me find it. Where is it? Where's my highlighter? I'm gonna go in with this guy. This is the Wet n Wild Mega Glow Highlighting Powder in Golden Flower Crown. This is what it looks like. It's a nice champagne-y golden highlighter. I'm gonna pick it up with this brush. It is the Luxie 522 tapered highlighter brush. I'm gonna pick up a little bit of that highlighter, tap off the excess, and just go to town. Again, I'm keeping it kind of like on the tops of my cheeks. I'm gonna highlight down the bridge of my nose because I feel like my face is looking super matte. I don't know if it is the foundation. From what I remember, is the foundation is more of a natural look. I'm guessing it's that primer. And the last thing that I'm gonna do is I'm gonna highlight under my brow. Now my brow gel brow mascara has dried, so I will be able to highlight under my brow. I'm gonna go in with a crown brush. This is what it looks like. I'm gonna pick up this cream shade from the palette, the Rosé in the Air palette, this cream shade. And I'm just gonna highlight under my brow, starting on the outside and then bringing it in. So I'm gonna start on this side, and then I'm gonna bring it in. Okay, after highlighting, I am gonna go in with the first brush that I used for my crease. I'm gonna blend my transition shade with my highlight. Keep it a little bit low. I'm not going as high up as my actual brow, but I want it to look seamless, blended together. Okay, next up is gonna be, I think I'm gonna, okay, let's do this. Wet n Wild Color Icon, and this is called the bronzer in Reserve Your Cabana. This is definitely not a bronzer. I would use this guy as a finishing powder. It has a little bit of luminosity, so I'm gonna pick a little bit of that with this brush by it's a dual fiber brush by It Cosmetics. I can't remember what it called, but it's a dual fiber brush. It's not gonna pick up a lot of product, so I'm gonna pick up a little bit of that product, tap off all the excess, and then I'm gonna blend it into my face to kind of bring a little bit of life back to my face, because I feel like it's very matte right now. Now I'm gonna go in with setting powder. Not setting powder, setting spray. For setting spray, I'm gonna use the Natural Finish setting spray. I'm gonna shake it up a little bit. My shirt keeps on sliding. Close my eyes. I feel like that setting spray brought some life back to my face. It doesn't feel or look as matte as it was looking. Another setting spray by Wet n Wild that I do have and I've used before, but because my face already feels very matte, I did not use it, and that's the Matte Finish setting spray. I would recommend this. It's really nice, but I needed something to bring life back to my face. It felt very dry. I think that's the primer and the foundation combination. So I would recommend the Photo Focus setting spray. I feel like it really brought some life, some luminosity back to my face. It's not a luminous finish or a dewy finish or anything like that. Natural finish, and I believe that, or I think it just gave me that. I'm gonna go ahead off camera. I'm gonna apply some mascara. I might put on some lashes, and then we'll be back and we'll choose a lip color. I do have quite a few from Wet n Wild. Okay, so I did go ahead and use that mascara. It's not my favorite, but it actually did a good job. I didn't feel like putting some lashes on. Kind of got lazy. For lip color, let's see. I'm gonna use one of these ones. I think these are the color icons still. I have the shade Bare It All, which is really a lot of people's favorite. That's what it looks like. It's a nudie color. It's supposed to be a dupe for one of MAC's lipsticks. I'm not sure dupe for which color. The other color that I do have is Smoking Hot Pink. I do really like this color, but I think it reminds me a little bit of the summer. So it's not very deep for this look. And then the last one is Wine Room, and I really like this color. I think that's the one I'm going to use right now. So this is Bare It All, Smoking Hot Pink, and then Wine Room. I really like Wine Room. It's kind of like a muted pink, a little bit on the nudie side. So I think I'm going to go ahead and use this for today. The other options that I do have are the catsuit, the liquid catsuit. They are drying, but they stay on the lips for a really long time. I would recommend these. Some colors that I just picked up only for fun are these two, and these are from their Dragon and Ice collection. One is Icing on the Wall, which is blue, and then Shall We Slay, which is kind of like a grayish color. Definitely not going to use these today. One that I really like is this one, and it is Coral Crown. I really like this shade. Let me swatch it for you real quick. But it is a metallic liquid catsuit. They have some that are metallic, and then they have some that are not. This is what that looks like. Again, this is called the Coral Crown. The ones that are not metallic, I have the shades Missy and Fierce and the shade Nice to Fuchsia. Missy and Fierce is that red one, sorry, this red one, and then Nice and Fuchsia is this guy, which is a fuchsia. Again, for today's look, I am gonna use the Wine Room. Yes, Wine Room. Let's put that guy on. So here's what that color looks on my lips. This is Wine Room again. I really like it. One thing to keep in mind with these, they are $2, so they're really good deal. They drag a little bit, so when you are applying them, they kind of skip a little, but they last for a really long time on the lips. They are comfortable. They are not super matte, but they're also not sheen or like sparkly. They are beautiful. I think it looks really good with this look. What do you think? I think it's good. I'm gonna keep it. So this is it. This is my Wet n Wild full face of makeup. Some products that I would really recommend if you are looking for a mattifying primer. That primer was really amazing. My skin felt pretty mattifying. I also would recommend their setting spray. This guy is amazing. The natural finish. Their foundation is okay, depends on what kind of foundation you're looking for, but for the price, it's a really good deal. I think it's $5.99. I do recommend a lot of the Wet n Wild products. They are very affordable, but they're still very good quality. You can go and do a full face of makeup for pretty inexpensive. If you enjoyed this video, please give it a big thumbs up. If you would like this to become a series every Friday, a full face Friday, let me know in the comments below. I would love to chat with you. Also, don't forget to subscribe if you're not already, and I will see you in my next video. Bye!